everybody, it's Rory from ANS, and we've got today a brand new Planet Eclipse CS1, so you guys can check it out. We'll open up the box, look inside of it, go through some of the features, some of the changes. We'll weigh it, put the barrel on it, anything you want, we'll do it. We'll take the reg apart real quick, take the frame apart, take the grips off. I mean, there's a lot of new little things in there, so we'll try to show them all. I know if any of you watched the live stream, you probably saw a lot of it on there anyway, but we'll go ahead and do it again so you can check it out. So you can see a new color box. It's a gray one. And then also, kind of a redesigned case. New looking case to the outside. Bottom there. That over here. All right, so inside here, you're going to get your manual. Now, the manual for this year is much smaller than it was before. Reason being is they're going to give you the basics of the gun, like how to go through the settings tree, how to get all the parameters done, basic information on how to turn it on, how to turn it off, how to adjust your regulator, how to take the bolt out. But there isn't going to be really any tech information in the book. No maintenance information, none of that jazz is going to be inside of there, because they're kind of directing everybody towards their YouTube channel, the tech YouTube channel, to get the information on how to do the maintenance. So a lot of people are more visually learn more visually than other people. So to follow along with someone and to see someone do it is a lot easier for some people sometimes. So you really won't find that section in here anymore. Used to be a really long maintenance section, which was helpful to some people, but not in this one. Most people are on the computers now, so that's where you'll see it. Barrel sleeve, barrel. So you got your pro tip and your new shaft 5 barrel right there. I believe there's still 689 on there. So this is the new shaft 5. It does have the barrel. It has an O-ring on the back of it here, which they had before. But now the barrel O-ring actually recesses into the front of the gun, so it no longer sticks out. Like when you go to thread this in, the O-ring doesn't bulge out and kind of separate between the front of the body and the barrel. So it completely goes inside and keeps it stable. They put the Cocker quick threads on, so no longer are you turning the barrel forever to try to get it on. They've shortened down those threads so it threads in quicker. And you get the new styled back and you get the pro tip on there. So I'll show you how that goes in. You can see it disappears right inside there. So now you have a clean connection between the two. No more gap of a weird O-ring sticking out there anymore. All right. So inside you're also going to get your parts kit. Pulled the stickers off there. Oh, Allen keys, soft tip bolt, and lube. So it is still an IV core bolt. They did change the bolt design a little bit. They put these holes in there to create a better airflow through there. Plus they enlarged the volume of the body, so you get more volume of air through there. This bolt tip, this one and the standard tip, would work in like a 3.5, but because you're lacking the volume that is inside the body in the 3.5, it's not going to do any different for you. It's not going to create a difference for you. You just have a different bolt in there. You're not going to benefit from having that in your gun. So it could work, but it's not going to do you any good. So don't put it in there. It doesn't do any good. That's what you're going to get in here. So let's kind of just push all this stuff to the side. Move that over there. Let's put the gun on the scale. Put the bowl on. So a 2.2. So I believe this one is just slightly heavier than a 3.5, but not to the point where you're actually going to notice that it is heavier. Could be wrong, but I think it is slightly heavier. All right, so same ferrule along the top as we had before, clamping feed neck. These clamping feed necks work fantastic. Super rugged, super durable. They hold feed necks or loaders really, really well. Adjustable, clamp it down, does its job. I don't believe they changed anything with the feed neck. It looks and works just like it should before. Get down to the front here. This is probably one of the major differences that you're going to see. If we pull this off, The cover does just slide right off. It says in the manual, make sure you pull straight down. You don't want to pull it in an angle or twist it or anything like that. They say that you can't break these things right here. This is like a reinforced glass fiber kind of housing. It's not plastic, so don't think you're going to break it, because from what I've heard, they've yet to be able to break one. It's held in by 4 screws, so it's super rugged and super strong on there. This holds your AA batteries. You've got 2 AA batteries, one on each side, held in place right there. Cover slides on the front. Now with the cover being off, you can see that you do have the little, I'm gonna call it a finger, it's like a tab, that holds the detent cover and plate, or the eye cover and plate, sorry. If we slide that back, we can just lift the cover up. If I can get my finger under it. There we go. So you can exposes your eye right there, your first set of detents, and then you actually have a second set of detents right there. Now this second set, if I pop it out of here, does 2 things. It actually helps settle the ball into the breech, but it also works as a second set of detents. If you're for some reason to lose this one, or to break it, or it just becomes fatigued and doesn't work as well as it used to, you can switch it out with this set that you have right here, and the gun will still function just fine. So you have an extra pair of detents on board that you can switch out right away. Makes perfect sense. People use their detents and lose their detents all the time. So to have the second set on there, it just makes a world of sense to be able to just switch it out. Should you need to. You don't need to go find it anywhere. You don't need to go look through a toolbox or anything like that. You've got it on the gun. Just put the eye cover back on. There's a little tab at the top right there. Woo. Might be a little hard to see right there. But that tab just kind of slips up into an index groove inside there. Puts the eye cover in place, and then slides forward and locks it on. Now, same thing's on the other side. Should you forget to lock your eye cover on when you slide this up inside, like this, you don't need to worry, because this front grip will actually push the tab back and lock it in place so that it locks it on there properly. You can see that it is locked right now. I would have to unlock it again to take my eye cover off. So if you forget and you snap that forward, not a big deal, because it's locked in place. You don't have to worry about it. But as a rule of thumb, I would try to remember to always lock them when you are putting it back together. So let's keep this off actually for now. Set that over there to the side. The contouring on this, a lot of people are super skeptical on how this was going to feel. They said, well, it looks just kind of weird. It looks big and bulky. But the texturing to the rubber and actually the feel of it when it's in your hands, you don't feel a difference to it. It feels just like it should. You don't sit there going, man, this feels weird in my hands. It doesn't. It feels like a front grip should. A lot of grip, a lot of contact. Feels really great. So if you're worried about how it might feel, don't worry about it. It feels great. Same kind of trigger setup, but the trigger is different. This front plate right here, they're going to call it a shoe kind of. It's removable. You can actually take this front part of the trigger off, and basically you would leave just the trigger guts inside there. That has all the screws and all the mechanisms inside of it to adjust all your trigger settings. And then you can replace this with other basically shoes. You can switch them out. There's going to be other companies, I'm sure, making trigger shoes, and you get your own design in there. Also, what they're going to do is the information for this are going to open source it. So you could, in essence, design your own trigger and 3D print it and put it on there. So they're going to give you that information so you could do whatever you want with it. You don't like the shape of their trigger, make your own trigger. Put it on there, and it's, you can have a custom trigger, a one-of trigger that you've made yourself. That's interesting. It's a cool design. It's a cool feature. I like that they're giving people the option to kind of do it themselves and figure out what works for them, not to just be closeted in by what other people are doing. So definitely a cool feature on there. Still has all the functionality of the regular trigger though, the spring return, magnetic return, adjustments for all the stops. It's all there. The board inside still has the 2 firing options too, with the optic sensor or the switch sensor, so you still have the choice between the 2 of those. Moving backwards through the gun, we'll jump down to the bottom here. So we still have the pops on the bottom, on and off, but now the reg, which used to be in the front right here, is now incorporated into the frame. A lot of people thought, oh man, that's going to make the frame super huge, or it's not going to be consistent. All those problems, you can't feel any of that as far as the frame size is going to be. It feels just like you're holding on to any Ego or any Geo. It doesn't feel any different in your hands. Plus, they've used the same size regulator, piston, spring, housing inside there. So the consistency is still the same. It's going to run on any pressure tank that you put on there, from a low pressure tank to a mid to a high. It's going to work regardless of what tank you've got on there. I'll pull that apart so you can see the inside of it. It's a brilliant design, beautifully done. I think it's great. Frees up the front of the gun to have something like this running in it, where you're going to get all these crazy shots out of two AA's. They're saying like over 100,000 shots off of two AA batteries, which, you know, everybody's got AA's laying around. It's perfect. So same kind of deal though, although the pops is, if we take the front of it off, you can see that the front piece is a lot smaller than it was before. You know, they kind of had to do that to accommodate all the internals that they're putting inside of there. Now, as we talked about the regulator is adjusted through this hole in the bottom. 1/8 Allen, you're gonna go up in there and lock into your reg adjustment just like before, except it would have been right here. And then if you look at the pops right here, there's an arrow pushing or arrow pointing in this direction for plus, to increase, or on this side, this way, turn this way to decrease, a minus sign. So it tells you right there which way you need to turn to go up or down in velocity, making it very, very simple. Let's pull this off real quick so that you can see how easy it is to get in and service the gun. So taking the two main screws out of the bottom. Once those two are out, the reg's just going to pop off right there. On the inside, we've got our piston and our spring right there. Regulators are on off. You unscrew this, they call it the tower or the castle or something like that. Exposes the bottom right there. You have inside the tower is your velocity adjuster right there. So because these two pieces have to thread in, this piece has to thread into the bottom, this castle piece has to thread into here, I would recommend putting them all in one at a time, not putting them in together, because they both pieces thread in, they might not thread in and end up right where you left it before. So as a rule of thumb, you're going to always reset, or if you work on your regulator, you're going to always reset it to like a factory position or so, which would be about 5.5 to 6 turns from all the way out. So the way we're going to do that is, first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the adjuster. We're going to bring it all the way down. Until it bottoms out right there. And remember, when we bottom it out, you never want to just torque it down and crush it into the bottom. You just go till it stops. Take the tower or castle, whatever they're calling it, screw it all the way in. Then we're going to take our reg and we're going to put it back together. You can see this really large gasket on here. The reason they made this large gasket is, for some reason, if this is to come loose slightly, on any other regulator setup that had a real teeny gasket, if this barely came loose, you'd start to leak right away. For some reason, if these two screws become loose and the reg adjusts just a little bit, or the ASA, I guess, you're not going to lose any pressure. This is going to hold it because of the size of the gasket you've got going on there, and you're not going to lose any pressure through there, or you're not going to start to leak in any way. So we've got that all the way out. We're going to put our reg back in our spring. Right there. Put that in. And we're going to put our screws in. You can see how easy servicing the reg is. It's not hard to get to. You have to worry about macro lines or fittings or anything like that. Tight, not overdoing it, and there you go. So the reg is back together, but now we need to set it to where we should be from a factory setting. So from it being all the way out like we were, we're gonna go, let me put it back there, all the way out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. Manual says 6. I've heard 5, so we're going to go 5.5. Go to the chronograph, check the gun. Always check your gun. Anytime you do any kind of service to any of the bits of the gun, you always want to chronograph your gun before you go play. Never assume that your velocity is the same spot it was before, because it most likely is not going to be. Okay, so regulator right there. The grips come in 2 pieces now. So you've got the front part of the grips, the back part of the grips, making a really actually secure grip setup. I heard that they were going to be in 2 pieces, and I figured that it's going to be like kind of floppy and stuff like that, but it's really, really not. The brake on the grips is right along there. So when we take these 2 screws out, we'll be able to take off the front half of the grips, which lay over the back side of the grips, right along there. And then the back plate is held in place by this little screw back here. So we'll take the first 2 grips off the side, like so. Now I'll flip it over, take these 2. Like that. That's going to let us take these parts off. Now if you look at the bottom, you see this cut right here on the ASA? That lets us get our finger underneath this little tab, and we can lift it up and pull it away. So it takes that off right there. Pretty simple. Now you can see that we've got the back half of the grips right here. To get that off, we have to remove this screw out of the back. It's going to hold that back plate on. And then we have to kind of lift these, this plating, or this grip, off the turret that sits right here. So the post where the screw goes through. Gonna get our fingers in there and lift that off. And lift it off of there. That's going to come right off the back. Now, one thing I always was frustrated with when you pulled off the grips or the back plate of anything, you lost the button pad on the back, the LCD window fell out. It's all integrated into the back of this now. The buttons, they're all part of this inside there. So that little strip of buttons, you're not going to lose it or it's not going to fall out anymore. It's all part of that inside there. Plus the window is not just a clear plastic window anymore. It's actually a magnifier. So when it's on, it looks like it makes the screen bigger. And with the screen being bigger, it's easier to see all the pieces. Everything looks brighter. Everything looks closer and cleaner. So that's kind of actually a cool little feature. People are saying, oh, I want a bigger screen. I want it massive. Well, this kind of gives you a bigger screen without physically changing the screen size. So I really like that feature on there. It makes it easier to see everything. Plus, they're using the same LCD screen that the LED screen that they used before, which is super, super bright, like transflective, I think is what they called it. Even in direct sunlight, it's easy to see. So same screen reliability and quality that you had before. See the board right there, screen and buttons on the back. And then our board, we've got our lock button right there. We've got our integrated USB port right there. So the new ePortal software for this will be up. You can connect to it, do your custom boot screens and do all your programming and whatnot through the USB port. Your standard switch and your optical switch right there. And then this wire that you see actually coming and plugging in down here is the wire that runs up to the front and to the battery. So this wire does not run up into the body at all. So when you go to separate the frame from the body, you don't need to unplug that. It's just a wire that runs up along there and goes in down through there. So while we've got this, the grips off, we'll take the bolt out. You can see the new IV core bolt. And this has got the standard tip on it. And you can see the bolt with the new cuts inside there. And it has the same front can right there. You see I don't know if maybe you can or cannot see that. IV core on there. There is a difference in the front body though. Like we were talking about before, if I slide this in right here, it's loose right here. These O-rings do not make contact until it actually gets all the way down to about here inside there. What that does is it allows the volume of air inside. They've machined out the inside so that you can get more air volume inside there. So not until that part goes into a stepped section that is a little bit narrower and the back end, which is larger, seals that O-ring, are you going to get any kind of seal inside there. So it is normal if you were to slide your bolt in that it is loose inside there. It's not until it gets all the way to the front that all the O-rings make contact and they make your seal and they secure the volume of air inside there. So you cannot use this whole system in an old gun. Wouldn't fit in there, wouldn't work. All right, so we've got it apart. We're going to take our front frame screw out. Right there. And the rear frame screw is hidden inside here. Take that out. And then we can go ahead and just separate the two pieces out like that. So the new body setup right there, you can see those two wires we talked about running through there. They just go up and they connect right up here, transferring the power from the AA's back to the board. And it's a little bit harder to see, but inside here, there's a couple little tabs that stick out right here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little, basically little fingers that stick out like this. And as the board, or the body comes in and it pushes against them, you can see those little slots right there, those little metal contacts. The fingers push up against that and they're spring loaded, so they kind of flex with it so they don't break or get jammed out of the way. And that's what makes your contact and transfers any information or electricity or whatever between the two. So putting them back together and separating them is as easy as basically just putting it in the right spot and pushing it together, just like that. And they come apart. Super simple, super easy. Just gotta make sure you got them in the right spots, like that. Very, very easy. And because the wiring for the upside here on the body side all stays up on the body, and the wiring from the bottom, there's no way to pinch wires in between. You just basically put it in the right spot and it sits together. If you were to go through and remove wiring and then put it back together, you'd obviously want to make sure that it is all in the right spot here. There's a lot of things that help keep the wiring together. You can see that the wiring running from the eye right here. The manifold actually has arms that come up, and the eye wires sit underneath those arms, and it holds the arm or the wiring in place so that it doesn't get out of position and get crushed by the body coming together. So a lot of thought went into where those wires are going to run to make sure that nothing is in the way. You can just slap your bodies together and be done. Now the manifold is all machined in-house, so it's serviceable. You can get inside there, take care of it. The only part that they didn't machine themselves is the pilot valve up here. It's an SMC valve, but you shouldn't have any issues with that. If you have any leaks or anything that was common in the 3.5, they've addressed those problems with this setup, making it serviceable and making you be able to get in there and fix any issues that you might have. So that's a great step in the right direction for customer servicing and making sure that there is less potential problems that you have to send out a part for and wait to get fixed. You can do it yourself. So I really, really like that. That's an awesome feature for this, having a serviceable solenoid assembly. You can see that there's a little piece of material right here. It's kind of shaped in a horseshoe, holds these wires in place so they don't pop up and get out of the way. You've got your two gaskets right here. Again, they're nice, big, large gaskets, so if anything was to separate or come apart, you wouldn't get a leak right away. You got the front one right here for your SFR, solenoid flow restrictor. And then you've got this right here, which is basically your air passage for air coming in. So the air is going to come in, come through the regulator, get passed through the front of the grip, up through the top, come out of this hole, and into your solenoid. So there's your path of air right there. So nice large gaskets, going to give a nice, strong, meaty seal, keeping everything super together. Love it. So let's go ahead and put this back on. The ease of separating the body and the frame, it's like a dream come true. No more routing wires anywhere or putting things and hoping that they don't get pinched. All right, so that's back together right there. Very, very simple. That's back together right there. Even more simple. That's together. Let's put the back on. Make sure we're on our posts. Perfect. take our screw, tighten that down. On our posts, make sure we're locked down on both sides. I mean, the whole maintenance of this gun is so fast. You can get everything apart. Like the longest part of doing anything to this gun is getting the grips off. So getting the reg out, fast. Getting the bolt out, fast. Changing your batteries, fast. Separating the frame and the body, fast. It's all super simple. And it looks good. A lot of people are like, oh, it's ugly. Like the flow of the body, everything fits together properly. Everything is where it should be. The lines are all there. I think it looks great. So for me, this is a definite winner. This is the CS1 from Planet Eclipse. We'll try to do a shooting video of it. You guys can check that out. But for all your Planet Eclipse needs and definitely for the CS1, check it out on ansgear.com.